Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new ITM platform training session. My name is Rene Alvarez, and I'm going to be your trainer for this session. Today, we are going to discuss time and resource management in ITM platform. Please remember that this training course will grant you 1 credit towards the ITM platform certification. You will need to get 10 credits to get this certification, and you can obtain them by attending these training sessions. You can get them directly with a 10-hour training from one of our partners. Also, 1 month of using ITM platform will get you 1 credit. Okay. Today's session is basically for project managers and team members, those users that will be interested in controlling resources and also providing data through time and timesheets. Okay. So we will discuss things like how to build a project team, how to assign tasks and estimate the effort, and also from the from the team members' perspective, how to report on progress, how to enter time, and what is going to be the effect of reading those hours, those actual hours in our projects. And as a last step, I'm going to show you some of the resource management extra capabilities inside ITM platform. Okay. All right. So let's move forward into our demo area. I'm going to start with full access, and later I'm going to show you some more tailored views from the project manager and the team member. Okay. Let's start with the full access. As usual, we start in my home, but in this case, I want to start managing resources and time for my projects. So what I would need to do, and sorry, we are saying it in the wrong language. Just a second. Let's move forward into the proper one. Yeah, this is the one. All right. So let's move forward to the area where I can see my projects. This is under management. And if I click on projects, I'm going to see all the projects. Okay. For this demo, I will, I don't think I need to build anything. I'm going to pick an already created project so we can discuss what we are seeing on screen. I'm going to show you where you can click to get these results. So I'm going to choose, in this case, a waterfall project. Once you have a waterfall project, well, actually a project, right? Because most of these concepts will work for both waterfall and agile. Okay, but thinking about the team, the first thing that I need to do is go to the team tab, and this is where I can create my project team. To bring resources into my project, I just need to use the headers of this table, right? And to the far right, I have the Add People button. If I click in there, this is going to display the list of all possible resources that I have access to inside ITM platform. So basically, I just need to select the resource that I want to bring on, right? Like this one, and then click on Save. Okay, that will add that user as a resource into my project. Now I can change the engagement or the function in the project. So I have Julio added to my project, and by default, ITM platform will add them as team members. But from this dropdown, I can change this engagement to be, for example, another project manager. These might be important, right? Because sometimes projects are very complex, and I would like to have someone else to help me manage this project. So this works perfectly well in ITM platform. I can set it back as team member, or I can set him as a project guest. As a reminder, a project guest is a read-only user. So with this, if permitted, because this depends on licensing, if permitted, I'm basically saying that Julio will be able to access this project, right? But he won't be able to change anything about it. So he will have access to things like the Gantt view or purchases or revenue or the general tab, but he won't be able to make any changes, okay? Now, if I don't want Julio in here anymore, I can simply delete him. Just take into account that in ITM platform, when you want to delete an object, like for example, removing a team member from a project, you need to make sure that this team member is not assigned to anything inside a project. Otherwise, ITM platform will prevent you from doing that, okay? So I can do that and remove Julio from my project. All right, next, I should have already a plan in place, okay? If I don't have it, well, it's as simple as going into the Gantt area where I can build my project plan, okay? And in here, I'm gonna create my tasks. I'm gonna schedule those tasks, okay? But at some point, I will need to assign those tasks to my team members, right? Because I want them to be able to execute those tasks and report on progress. That is visualized in this area, right? I can see who has been assigned to that task, but I cannot control the assignment from here, okay? What I need to do is go to the Team tab and use first the task function view, right? The task function view, and actually let me hide this area, right? So we have a better view. The task function will allow me to select if a particular resource is a task member or a task manager, okay? If I don't want to assign or I want to remove the assignment, I can simply click on none, right? As you can see, I cannot remove someone that already has time entries into that task, okay? Now, what's the difference between a task manager and a task member? A task member is capable of reporting on time only, right? So for example, David is only capable of entering actual time for this task. So what a task manager can do? A task manager, in addition to what a task member can do, a task manager can provide with a progress report for the task. In other words, the task manager can enter the percentage of completion for that task, right? So he will be able, for example, Travis will be able to provide me with time, but also he will be able to provide me with a progress for the task, for the entire project, for the entire task, okay? So that is the first thing that I have, that I need to have in place, the assignment to tasks. Please note that summary tasks cannot be assigned, okay? Summary task has just data. They will provide you with summarization of the information below, like, for example, the total effort or the total progress, right? But you cannot assign a summary task. You can assign simple tasks. Once you have provided with assignments, once you have created those assignments, it would be time to move forward to the next view in the same tab. If I click on this indicator, it will move me now to the estimated effort page. What is this? This is the place where I can enter the estimates, okay? For example, I have, I'm currently using this user full access, right? And I can see that this user has been assigned to gather the information required, etc., right? So this user is assigned to that task, but it has no time estimated. So I can simply click in there and enter the expected amount of time, for example, 2 hours, okay? So I can do that in here. That is one option, right? And actually, this is the quickest way of doing that because it will display all tasks together. But if you prefer a more detailed approach, there is another way which you can provide this same value. Okay, let me show you that. So I'm gonna cancel editing that task in here. Now I'm gonna move over to the tasks tab. Okay, and I can go to the same task, this one, gather the information required for the decision to go, no go, right? If I click on the name, this will open the details for that task. Okay, and inside the details for that task, I'm going to find the team. So with this tab, ITM platform will show me who has been assigned to that task and what is their role. If these users or these resources are simply members or managers, okay? Manager, member, manager. Remember, we have task member and task manager, okay? Now, in the effort tab, this is where I can create a full details for this particular task, right? So again, maybe I'm reviewing this with more detail with my team. Maybe I'm sharing my screen with the team and I'm asking for estimates. This is where I can capture that task by task, right? And the summary is going to be displayed in the team tab, okay? So again, I can go in here and say that for my user, I would need to complete to use 2 hours of my time. Okay. Now, please note that I'm actually not saying when those 2 hours will happen. So I'm actually not planning by day, right? So there is a difference in ITM platform in terms of your task scheduling aspect. In other words, the start and end date for the task and the amount of time that you will require to apply to that task, okay? And in the starting point, there is no direct connection between those two elements, right? So I'm simply saying that I'm gonna need 2 hours. When I'm gonna use those 2 hours is really up to me, right? It can be 15 minutes each day, or it can be 2 hours at the beginning or at the end, or maybe it's gonna be more, right? So there is, by default, there is no direct connection between the effort and the duration, okay? So if I simply click on save, okay, let me save that change. Now, let's go back to the team tab. Let's move over to the estimated effort. And now, as you can see, I have 2 hours assigned to that resource for that specific task, okay? So this would be the estimating part, right? When I'm entering the time that I think it's going to be required to complete those tasks. Now, what is the effect overall in the project of doing this? Well, I can see the effect in different places. For example, in the tasks tab, right? Even if I don't see the effort displayed as part of my columns, I can bring it over, right? If I hover that button, I can scroll down and select estimated effort, click on apply, and it's gonna give me the roll-ups for each task, okay? Another way of seeing this as a total summary would be, for example, inside the budget area. If I go to the budget and I expand this area, right? The bottom up, which corresponds to the estimated effort, is going to be here, okay? And so on and so forth. So depending on when, depending on where you want to see the data, ITM platform will display it in one form or another, okay? All right, now, let's say that we are ready to start executing our project, okay? Before that, before executing our project, it is always recommended that you create a baseline. So what is a baseline? A baseline is basically a way in which you can capture or copy your planning values, okay? The baseline will basically copy the data from the financial aspect. That will be the costs, the budget, the revenue, the margin, all that, okay? And it will also copy the planning data, like, for example, start and end dates, duration, effort, and all that. So it is, I'm going to say it's a very complex, very comprehensive copy of your plan. And what is it used for? It's used for comparison, okay? For example, let's go back for a second to the team tab, okay? Now let's say that in the end, we wanted to know if we are ahead, if we are late, if we are using more effort or less effort, right? I need a point of comparison, okay? Now, the very basic comparison, you're going to see it in action in a few minutes, because I'm going to show you how the team member will provide with actual time, okay? And you can use this area to do a simple comparison about the time, right? But for example, what about the Gantt chart? What about the scheduling, right? How can I tell if a task is running late or is running early, right? I'm saving, I don't know, 1 or 2 weeks of the anticipated end dates for my project. Maybe I'm running late. I'm going to finish 1 month after it was planned. Again, I need a point of comparison. I need a means to compare to that original previous plan. That is exactly what the baseline is for, okay? And in ITM platform, we have several places where you can create a baseline. One is inside a Gantt, okay? In the Gantt, I can definitely show a baseline if I already have one. If no, ITM platform will simulate it, okay? But if I click on create baseline, this will allow me to create a new baseline. So that is one option. I'm not particularly fan of doing it from here. The only reason for that is because I tend to want to have much more control, right, from what I'm doing inside a project. And this little box will not provide me with the full control of the baselines. But it is totally fine if I want to create it from here. There is another place where I can do the same. That is inside the budget tab. In here, I can click on set new baseline. And as you can see, it is exactly the same box, new baseline, etc. My preferred method, right, is under the general tab. If I click on general, scroll down a little bit, in the timeline section, all the way to the right, I have the manage baselines button. If I click on manage baselines now, this is much better. It is not creating it by default, right? It is first displaying whether I have a baseline or not. As you can see, I don't have a baseline created for this project. So let's go ahead and create a new baseline. I can set a new baseline, clicking on that button. Again, it is the same box, yes, but please notice the difference. If I simply click on create baseline now, in the other 2 places, from the Gantt or from the budget, it will simply disappear. It will confirm that I created a baseline, and that's it, right? If I simply click on create baseline now from this box, right? Now I still see the baseline management area that will tell me things like the name of the baseline, the start and end date for the entire timeline. That'll be the entire schedule. When did I create this baseline, which might be important for my PMO or for other compliance evaluations. Who created the baseline, right? And also, I have a gear icon that will allow me to change it. For example, mark it as inactive. Maybe I don't want to use it for comparison. Maybe I would like to see the details. Okay, I'm going to show you that in a second. Or I can rename it. Maybe I don't want baseline 1 as name, right? Sometimes, and if you are following a methodology or processes close to what PMI says, right? Usually the first baseline is named something like original plan, right? Okay, so as you can see, it's much more detailed what you can do from the baseline management box, okay? All right. Again, now that we have that, again, I'm not going to focus on the budget aspect, but I want to show you this. Let's go to the budget because this is the easiest way of seeing that, okay? And now I'm going to click on show baseline. The show baseline will show me the copy, right? But what I want to emphasize is this. Sorry. I don't want to create a new one. I want to show it. Perfect. All right. So what I want to highlight is this. I have the top-down budget to the left, and to the right, I have the same copy, right? From this time for the baseline, right? And I have the same for bottom up. Okay. So this is the area in terms of effort, in terms of hours or time management that I should compare. Okay, so this is one way of seeing that. All right, what happens if now, for some reason, the estimation changes? For example, after we created a baseline and we tell our team members, please start the execution, this user tells me that in the end, he will need, I don't know, instead of 2 hours, he will need 8 more hours. So it would be a total of 10 hours, right? I can freely do that modification. I can change that value, right? So let's go ahead and save my changes, okay? If I don't have the baseline, then there is no way for me to reference the previous 2 hours. Okay, I've lost that information. But since I already have a baseline, okay, I can go here, click on Show Baseline, and comparing this value against this other value, I might see the difference. Of course, this difference will be translated into cost, right? But right now we are speaking about time management, correct? And as you can see, now there is a difference. Of course, if I want to be much more detailed, I can go to the tasks area, open the task in particular, okay? And sorry, I forgot that in this view, we don't display the baseline by default. Okay, no worries. I'm going to show you later one way in which you can display that information, okay? However, I can still go to the tasks view, right? And from here, I have the estimated cost, okay? And now I'm looking for the baseline related values, and I can bring on estimated effort from the baseline. And for this task, now, as you can see, there is a difference of 8 hours, okay? So that'll be another way of displaying that, okay? All right, so let's say that we are ready to start execution, right? We saved up our baseline. Of course, the plan can still change. And for that, we have our change management control under issues, okay? But it is time for the team member to start reporting on time. How does that happen? Well, first, let me show you with this same user, and later I'm going to switch to a team member so you can see the difference, what a team member can do, okay? Okay, let's go as a team member now to my desktop area. Let's first check under my tasks and activities. And I want to locate that task, and that task is in here. Gather the information required, etc. As a team member, I have a way of applying a filter. For example, maybe I have just too many tasks, right? Maybe I would like to find them by the name of the project, by priority, by the name for the task. It can be a partial name, though. For example, gather. And click on apply. And now it's going to show me only the tasks that will contain gather as part of the name, right? Okay, so from here, what I can see is basic data for the task, like what is a project, the status, the priority, start, finish date, sorry, start date, right? And who's responsible for the task. And I can also see to the far left in the same table, this icon. Well, it might not be there. So let me explain. If I have been assigned as a task manager, then I'm going to see that icon. If I'm simply a task member, let me remove this filter, right? If I don't see it, for example, in these tasks, then it means that I'm simply a task member. So I cannot provide with a progress for the task, okay? All right, let's move forward. Now that I could identify the task that I'm interested in, it's time to enter time. Where does that happen? That happens under my timesheets, okay? So let's go in here. My timesheets. And now this section will display the tasks that I can report for a particular period of time. Okay, just be careful with that, because you might not see the task in here, and that usually depends on two reasons, on two factors. One, I'm seeing a different week. Okay, so that is very common. Maybe the task is ahead on time or before, right? The second and a little bit more tricky situation why I'm not able to locate my task is because the project is not on a state that will allow me to enter time. So before displaying the task in particular, let me highlight that part. Let me go back for a second to the project, and actually I can do that very quickly. If I go to my tasks and activities and I click on the project, okay? This is really important. The project status. Of course, this can be customized. This can be customized based on your processes, but the status of the project needs to be on a state that allows time entry, because some project statuses might not allow you to do that. Typical examples would be something like initiate or planning. Maybe I'm still planning my project. Therefore, even if I'm creating assignments, no one should be able to enter time, because the project is not ready to start execution. That is a perfectly valid reason, okay? All right, in this case, the project is already in progress, so I'm good to go. Really, the issue or the reason why I couldn't identify that particular task when I first click on my timesheets is because of the date range, right? As you can see, this task belongs to it has been scheduled to start much earlier than what I'm displaying right now. So let me navigate that. Please forget about the fact that I'm going back in time, right? I can navigate week by week, okay? Or, for example, I can go faster if I click on the calendar and I move all the way back to January. I think it's going to be here. Okay, here we go. So in this week, yep, I have the planning window in here. One thing that you will notice is that some of these boxes might be grayed out, even if they correspond to valid working time or working days, like, for example, this Monday. Maybe yes, maybe no, okay? Why is that? Because the enabled days are going to be those days from the planning, from the scheduling, okay? Also, you can customize, if needed, that the team member is able to report time outside the planning window. For example, if the task is extending over time, I might be able to report on work on Saturday or the week after it was supposedly completed, okay? All right, so let me give you a quick sample here. I'm gonna enter, for example, that I worked in this stage 3 hours. I did not work on Wednesday, and then I worked for 1.5 hours, so 1 hour 30 minutes, okay? When I enter that time, I can simply click on save. Extra things that you might need to know is you can enter comments by day. Mostly these comments are for you, right? So you don't forget about something, right? If you click on a day, you can see this little button that will allow you to enter a note. For example, almost done, okay? Or something like that. And if there is a note, it will highlight it with this little icon at the top, okay? Now, also, if you are a team manager, okay, you can see this last button to the far right. That button will allow you through a pop-up to enter the progress for that task, okay? As you can see, this task has been marked as 95% done, right? So I can see how it has been progressing, when the report progress was created, the assessment, who created this evaluation, right? And from here, I can enter a new assessment, right? Maybe we are running late. I don't know. You can enter the proper values in here, okay? since we are not speaking about controlling the progress of the project, we are focusing today into the time management aspect. I'm going to leave it out. Okay, so I'm going to click on cancel, and then I will simply click on save. All right, now let's go back to the project. You can also navigate to the project by clicking there in the name, if you have permissions, of course. Since I'm the project manager, I can freely move from one side to the other. All right, let's go back to the team tab. Remember that in here, I created the assignment, and then I entered the estimated effort. Well, in the same tab, there is a third view. I'm going to move over to the accepted effort view. Okay. And what do I see in here? Well, I see first the estimated effort, the original time that I entered, 10 hours. Okay, remember that, not the baseline. This is coming from the estimation. So I see 10 hours. Then below, I see what the team member was reporting, 4 hours and a half. And automatically in ITM platform will read that time entry and consider it real time, 4 hours and 30 minutes. Okay. Now, as a project manager or whomever has that permission in the project, I can overwrite, or I can enter a different time. For example, maybe these resources reporting for 4 hours and a half. That's perfectly fine. But I would like to consider a different value for my project. Why? For whatever reason, right? So instead of 4 and a half, I can enter, I don't know, I'm going to report on 6 hours. So it's going to be maybe more or maybe less. But please note that the time entry effort is not changing. I cannot overwrite what the team member entered. What I can change is the amount of time that is considered to be actual. And since ITM platform will automatically read as actual time, whatever the team member enters, right? I don't need to do this for any other task than those that I want to modify, okay? All right, let's click on save. And again, just like before, I could evaluate the values, the changes. If I go, for example, to the budget, and if I expand the total cost, we already highlighted that this was different than the baseline, right? Now, for actual values, this is coming from the time entries provided by the team or overridden by the project manager. The same I can see if I go to tasks and I click on the particular task, okay? I can move over to effort, and then I can see the values in here, or I can modify them. Again, I'm seeing the actual time reported by the team member, and if needed, I can enter different values in the actual accepted effort. Okay? All right. So basically, that is how easy it is to create an estimation and let the team members start working and reporting on time. Okay? Now, let me show you one last aspect of these time and resource management features in ITM platform. This is all perfectly well inside the project. Okay, but what if I'm part of the PMO, for example, and I would like to further analyze what's going on with resources. Okay, I have several means to do that. First, if I go to the resources, and actually I think this is the important part, right? If I click on resources, it will display first the planning area for resources. Now, again, let's go outside the scope of our particular project. Now I want to analyze workload or over allocations, for example, or under allocations. Okay, so this area is going to do this. It's going to divide the screen into two parts, and above it's going to display the demand, right? And the demand is grouped by task and by project. Okay, so for example, if I see this new project line project, I can expand it, and it's going to give me summary task, and then it's going to give me the particular task, and for the particular task is gonna give me the demand by professional category. Okay. So it is not specifying a particular resource. How can I use this area? Well, it will allow me to identify what type of resource demand I need to cover, I need to answer to. Okay. So usually when I create a project, I assign or I start assigning tasks to specific resources, correct? But in ITM platform, that can be transformed into a resource demand by professional category. Okay, what I see in here is the total demand, the allocated, and the gap if a gap exists. Okay, now what is below? Below is the offer, right? Is the installed capacity that I have, right? And again, this is grouped by professional category. So, for example, if I'm seeing this task, wait and see stage, right? I'm demanding engineers, controllers, and administrative staff. Well, I can go, for example, to controllers. Well, I'm the only controller, right? And in here, it's going to highlight if there are some over allocations or no. For example, the total capacity for this resource is 8 hours. 8 hours on this day, because the interval is days, okay? And the allocated is 8 hours and 2 minutes. So I actually have an over allocations, but the over allocation is 2 minutes. So probably it's just irrelevant. However, ITM platform will highlight it. Okay, but what happens if instead of seeing days, I switch to weeks? Will the over allocation persist? Probably yes, probably no. When I see this by week, well, by week I don't have any problem, right? I can modify the number of intervals that I would like to see, the number of weeks, the number of days, the number of months or quarters, okay? And I can also control the start date. Now, the other aspect that I can use this area for is to highlight the under allocation. By default, it's blank. So it means it will highlight in green any under allocation. Sometimes I want to focus on a different aspect. For example, I would like to highlight only those resources with, I don't know, with a lot of time free to work on projects. For example, over 50% their time. So people that are working under 50%. So if I change that, now it's going to highlight only those cases. Let's go over. Let's go to 80%, people that are almost not working on projects. So what is this important for? Because it will allow me to identify whether I would need to change assignments, switch assignments. So maybe someone is already over allocated, and I can solve this over allocation by asking someone else to be engaged into those assignments, into those projects. Okay. All right, let me show you one last thing about this area, right? As you can see, there is a gear icon. When I click on that gear icon, this will allow me to bring more resources to the same project. So instead of navigating to those projects, I can do that from here, right? And actually, this also works by task. Okay. So this is a way in which I can add specific resources, or I can add specific professional categories. So that I don't need to necessarily specify a resource. I can specify the professional category, and after that, I can decide who should be my controller or my account manager or my engineer, okay? All right, a couple of last concepts on these scenarios, right? Of course, what you are seeing is it will depend on a relationship between a particular resource and the professional category. So let me show you that last, okay? If I go to the organization area, typically only the PMO or a system admin would be able to access this area, right? I have under cost management, I have the categories and rates. If I go in here, it will first display the category names. So one of the first things that you will require to do inside ITM platform to customize it correctly is to provide with the category names, right? What category of resources you will need for your projects, right? And adding categories is very simple. I just need to click on add new category, enter the category name, and that's it, right? Of course, the category can be connected to rates. We are going to explain that in another training session where we will focus on the financial aspect of managing projects. At this time, I just want to highlight adding new categories. Now, how can I relate the resource with a professional category? That is done resource by resource. If I go to users, okay, I'm going to find a list of existing users, or of course, if I have the permissions, I might be able to add new users. And when I click or when I select someone, okay, there is a position tab that will display that part, that area of information, okay? Looks like this is blank, correct? Let me explain this a little bit better, because sometimes you might get the impression that there is nothing selected for this resource. Actually, the user position is already created in here, okay? So it already exists. If I click on the position name, it will populate the other values with information coming from the relationship between this resource and the category. And this is the category, right? As you can see, I cannot change it, but I can give this user another position. Maybe the position is changing. Maybe the name is different. Maybe the professional category changed, okay? So I can do that real easy. If I go to position and then I select a new professional category. Since this is a demo area, I cannot really change that. That's why everything is grayed out, but you will be able to do it on your production environments. You can change the category, you can enter the department, select the position, the starting date, and so on and so forth, okay? So this is how a particular resource is connected to a professional category. Therefore, the rest of the structures will work automatically on its own, like, for example, analyzing those professional categories and users, okay? All right, let me give you one last recommendation, okay? It is really meant for reading, not for modifying, but it might be super useful as well, especially when you are thinking about analyzing resources. In this same area for resources, we have another tab, the analysis tab. And in the analysis tab, ITM platform will give me for week by week, sorry, it will display the resources, right? The resources with assignments. And it will give me a lot of different values, right? It will give me the estimated effort and the time entry by day. And then I can navigate to different weeks, okay? Perfect. But what I want to highlight are the metrics that will give me. First, it will give me the rates between estimated effort and time entry, or in other words, how efficient is that resource in executing the planned effort. Okay, that would be one way of analyzing it. For example, let's check this case, right? This resource is 36.84% on this evaluation. Why is that? Because in total, in the accumulated hours, he is only entering 3.5 out of 9.5. Okay, so he's under executing the planned effort. Maybe this is good, maybe it isn't, right? You are the ones to determine that, okay? ITM platform will simply display the relationship. The other one is estimated effort against working hours, or in other words, how efficient are we in planning the work for these resources, or how efficient or how well the project manager is using the time for those resources. And as you can see, this team member is over-allocated, at least for that day. The next day as well, sorry, on Wednesday is also over-allocated, the rest of the week is not, okay? So I have those metrics by resource, and if I scroll all the way down, I also have the same metrics for the entire list of resources that I see here. So I can really easily evaluate a lot of different resources at once. If I would like to provide with filter, right, I can use the top selectors to top slicers. For example, I don't want to see them all. Maybe I would like to only see Julio, right? So I can apply a filter, and now I can analyze Julio a little bit closer, right? Another way of doing that would be through through the organizational unit. Let me select them all. And in here, maybe I don't want to display them all. Maybe I would like to only display the information system organization unit. So this will display the related resources. Okay. All right. So that'll be the content that we have for today's training session. I hope that you found this session useful, and it will help you create better plans and have those projects much more controlled than before. Again, we would like to thank you for your time, right? And if you don't mind, we would like to ask for your help getting 5 stars in Capterra. So if you would be so kind to go to Capterra and enter a rate for our system, we will really appreciate that. And with that, thank you again for your time, and I will be seeing you in our next training session. Thank you very much.